Hi everyone, it's me, Tim. Today I want to talk about my memoirs again. So consider this a My Memoirs video part 2. So I've shown it before. It's this big honking thing I wrote and got printed, sent to some people for feedback. In that first video that I'll link below, you can watch it to learn why I wrote it, what's inside, and why I'm not going to publish it. So if you have questions about any of that, watch the first video because I'm not going to talk about that here. But this memoir and this channel has given me a lot of feedback on me. And I've learned a lot. And these are things that are interesting, and I'll talk about a lot of them. But I want to really talk about the fact that while I've gotten a lot of wonderful feedback, really nice things, especially some nice things from people I've worked with who could have said nothing, that I haven't talked to in 10, 15. In one case, I heard from someone I haven't talked to in 27 years, but they wanted to know that they liked working with me, which is really, really sweet and really nice. But I've gotten a lot of negative feedback too, and I've gotten that negative feedback from people who meant it constructively and said, oh yeah, I loved working with you. You know, you do this thing though sometimes. And other people, they were just angry and like, you do this, blah. But I heard it enough from both kinds of people that I'm like, this stuff has got to be true. So let me tell you what the negative feedback I've gotten about me. The first one is not going to surprise you. I talk too much. Hence this channel. People say I talk a lot. I talk loudly. I talk over them. People said this made them feel very discounted in conversations, especially when brainstorming. Even though I did brainstorming sessions and people liked them, they said when we're exchanging ideas, sometimes your idea won, not because it was better, but because you explained it better. And it's taken me a while to let that sink in because, first of all, my first reaction to that is, well, you should have done a better job. But part of me is like, yeah, I can see what they're saying. They had a good idea, but they're quieter. They didn't feel like they could explain it to everyone, or they wanted to mail it. And some people, and then that gets you to the people who aren't good at reading. So they sent out a big long email explaining their idea, and people just don't read it. So I get where they're coming from. Part of this is my nature. My dad was a very gregarious person, so am I. But yeah, I've heard that. I'm like, yep, I do that. I will acknowledge that. And then I've gotten some more feedback, and all of this, again, breaks down into there are people who gave it to me constructively. They give it to me in a kind way, and there's people who didn't. But I got the same feedback from both of them. So from kind people, I was told that I exude confidence. From unkind people, I've been told I'm very egotistical. The common point between that was I act like I have a plan and move forward knowing what I'm doing, even when I don't. And yes, I acknowledge that. That's something I always felt like when you're in charge of a project, if you hem and haw over things, it can be really bad. So you kind of just have to move forward. So, but related to that, I've been told that I can be really stubborn. Now, the kind people say that I pick a direction and go. And unless we run into an unresolvable problem, I do not steer away. And they liked that. But on the other side, the unkind people were like, I don't listen to better ideas after the project starts. So we've started, we're coding stuff, we're doing art and stuff. Someone has a better idea. I'm like, look, unless the older idea isn't going to work, this is the direction we're going. And they thought that was bad. And they thought that led to some of the problems that some of my games have, where there was a better way of doing something, but I didn't want to steer away from the direction we'd agreed on at the beginning. So I get that. And then the fourth big negative people told me is that I expect too much. And I know this sounds like one of those, when you're in an interview and they're like, what's your big problem? It's like, I work too hard. But what they said, kind people said that when I expected a lot from them, they tried harder and harder and they became better at what they did. And they also said I never expected from them more than I gave myself. But from the unkind people, they said I would push and then push more. And it was never enough. That I was the one who made, for example, at Troika, the work-life unbalance seem like that was something they were supposed to do. So I've heard that. And I'm like, I can see that. That was how I kind of did things myself. And then because I was in charge, that made everybody else feel like they had to do it too. So I've heard all that. But the other reason I wanted to do this video is I'm now hearing that I have colleagues in the industry who are writing memoirs. Now, some of them have been written and I've read them. I read Sid Meier's memoir. It was really good. I read Ken and Roberta Williams' memoir. That was good. And it was interesting too because that was more from a publisher side than from the developer side, although Roberta did a lot more development, I think, than Ken. I've got John Romero's book on my to-read list, so I will be getting to that soon. But I'm not here to review theirs. I'm here to say, for those colleagues of mine who are thinking of writing a book, and I hear some of them are, you're going to learn some things about yourself that you didn't know and maybe didn't want to know. So my advice here is listen to people who are telling you things. Now, just because one person says something doesn't necessarily mean it's true. A lot of people bring their own biases and anger and issues to these discussions. But listen for commonalities, because if a lot of people are telling you the same thing, especially if they're telling you the same thing in different ways, you will want to listen to them. It's a rare opportunity, by the way. Most people never really examine themselves. They never really critically and in some ways harshly look at their life, look at the decisions they've made, look at how that's affected other people and go, how could I have done better? Most people live a life of uncontemplated decisions and actions. So this is a rare opportunity for you to try to look back at everything you did and go, what did I do? What did I do great? Because I learned there were some things I did great. And what are things I could have done better? And apparently there's a lot of things I could have done better. So I will tell you, if you're writing this book and you're collecting stories from people, if you find yourself frequently responding to them and saying, I didn't do that, or the classic, I don't remember doing that, stop, step back, and see how many people are saying this. Because if it's more than one, you may want to be concerned. And if it's a lot, you may want to think, wow, I did a lot of stuff that I didn't think was a big deal and I just forgot about, and it stuck with these people. So, and like I said, bear in mind, people will tell you some things because they have their own issues, they have their own grudges, they have their own axe to grind, but we all have that. And if you think that when you're doing your memoir and you're talking to people you worked with, that all of the issues are on them and none of them are on you, you're approaching your memoir wrong. We all should listen to what people are telling us and look at the stuff people are sharing. So with that, I'll give a caveat on my caveat. So that was here's what I learned from writing a memoir and doing this channel. Here's my caveat to people who are writing. Here's my caveat to that caveat. No matter what you write or what I say here, it's not enough for some people. It's just never enough. Some people think I'm being too kind. They think I'm whitewashing the industry. I'm glossing over things, or I'm a shill and I've been paid to say it. There's no convincing these people. But then there's the flip side. There's people who think I'm too harsh. They think I'm bitter. They think I'm holding a grudge. I mean, look, if you look at my channel, it is overwhelmingly positive. But there are still people who go, you said that story and you didn't have to say it, so you're holding a grudge. You're being bitter. And I've tried to respond with, look, I'm trying to give people a view of what the game industry is like, and it's got its ups and downs. And I think I've been honest about my downs. So if you don't like me mentioning yours, most of the time I don't mention people by name. Move on. Then there's people who think I gave too little credit to people. Those are the people who said I was very egotistical in this section on what I learned about myself. You're not crediting people enough. But there's a massive flip side of people who say I'm giving too much credit to other people and not reserving anything for myself. They say you're really being falsely modest. Or one person said, you're just waiting for those people to credit you back. You're only crediting all those people so they'll turn around and say nice things about you and credit you back. I mean, literally, there's no way to balance those two people. Either I'm crediting too much or I'm crediting too little. That's it. Oh, and then there's always this. This has come up several times. People have contacted me and said, well, why did you say this about me? Why did you say this? Usually it was something negative or that could be perceived negative, but sometimes it was something positive. And I'm like, what? And they're like, why did you say that when you could have said this, and this as well? Yes, I've actually had people come to me and said, you know that nice thing you said about me? Well, I did something like that multiple times and you didn't say all the other things. And I was just like, whoa. So I said kind and nice things about you, but I didn't say enough kind and nice things about you. That exploded my programmer brain. That was one where I'm just like, okay, I'm making a box of ways you can't please everybody, and that's going at the top of the box. So, to my colleagues, if you're still thinking about writing that memoir, good on you and good luck.